Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Casey Martin from Wine Country Pens and Wine Country Woodworks, and this is going to be a video of how I show you all how to make resin and burl hybrid blocks. So these blocks can be used for many things, and honestly almost anything that you could think of. The most typical uses are pen blanks, bottle stoppers, knife scales, things of that nature. But then again, like I mentioned, they could really be used for anything. I've seen these type of blocks used for bull whips, pool cues, many different types of things. Those are just some of the main things they are used for. So the resin I'm going to be using is Alumalite Resin. And there are some other great resins out there, but Alumalite is known among the turning community and some other material making communities as being one of the best resins, especially when put under pressure, which is almost a necessity for Alumalite. So I start weighing out Alumalite because you have to weigh it by weight, a part A and a part B, and then you mix that. And so for this specific block, I'm going to be making 3 in total in this video. For this specific block, I mix it completely in 1 cup, even though I'm going to be making 2 colors. So I mix it until it's completely clear. I'm not worrying about bubbles because we're going to get rid of those when we pressurize it. And so I make sure it's completely clear, and then I kind of get down low level with the table and just kind of eyeball it being equal. I don't need to weigh it out and make sure, because these are just going to be equal for colors, nothing else. So I decided to put blue on the right and a green on the left that I don't add any dye to, just pearlescence, so that I can kind of keep this transparent look. So I'm mixing those up and making sure that all of the pearlescent powder gets broken down. That's why I spent a little bit extra time on these, so that I could make sure that there weren't going to be any clumps of powder left over. So once those are completely mixed, then I start to pour them. And one of the tips I want to give you guys when you're using translucent or transparent resins that have 2 different colors is not to try to mix them with swirls like with a popsicle stick or anything else after. You kind of just want to let them do it on their own while you're pouring, because if you start adding swirls, then you're going to get a lot of bleeding, and since it's transparent, it's not going to look as good. It's going to look kind of weird, and it's going to just create a whole new color. Now you can do that if that's the look you're going for, but if not, just wanted to bring that up. So we'll come back to that later. That's in the pressure pot for 4 hours, and now we're going to make 2 more blocks. This is Red Mallee Burl. It's an Australian burl, which I love because that red heartwood is what that's called, and then the outside is called sapwood. Or actually, yeah, that's right. I thought I had it backwards for a second, but I believe that is correct. So for both of these, I'm going to be making 2 single colors. One is going to be a red and one's going to be a green. So same procedure as I was talking about earlier. Weigh it, mix it, make sure you're mixing it all the way until it's clear. One of the tips you can make sure to double check if it's clear is when you move it briefly, just like 1 swipe across the resin, is if there's any lines that follow your popsicle stick. It may sound interesting, but if you have it happen, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm using blue russet Pearlex, it was kind of blurry there, and red dye on the right. And then on the left, I'm going to be using some green apple Pearlex and some green dye. So I'll be mixing those up momentarily, and you guys will get to see how sweet they look. So now I'm just mixing them up, and as you guys can see, a lot of the pearlescent powder gets on the sides, and that will happen almost any time when you use a lot of powder. Sometimes there's going to be too much powder added that even if you try to scrape it all off, it won't work, but I always try to scrape off as much as I can as possible. So that's what I was just doing when I lifted it up, and that'll probably happen again with the red, because I like to use a lot of powder and make sure that I get enough when I am going for that pearlescent look. So I'm making sure those are completely mixed up, and then after that we'll get to pouring. So pouring is pretty straightforward when you got the solid colors. You pretty much just dump it all in. It really doesn't matter that much unless you're trying to do multiple colors and do something special. And as you guys can see there on the green, there is a little clump of pearlescent powder, which isn't ideal, but it really doesn't matter because since it's going to be encompassed in resin anyway, it doesn't change anything. I've turned pens that have had that and it doesn't cause any problems. And if it doesn't cause a problem in something as small as a pen, it shouldn't cause a problem. So here are the blanks when they're taken out of the pressure pot. These are ready to be used right now if you're using them for yourself, but I always like to clean up the blanks because I'm selling them, and also when I do use them for myself, I want to be able to tell where exactly the wood is, you know, what's the depth of the wood, and just basically be able to look at the blank and know what part I want to use for whatever it's going to be turned into. So right now I'm just cutting it on the table saw. Sped it up a lot for you guys, so you guys didn't have to watch that. So I'll just let you guys watch that really quick and then come back in a second when they're all cleaned up. One of the things that I actually should mention really quick is that the original blue dyed maple burl, I accidentally dyed that with a piece of maple that had already been stabilized. So if you're wondering why it's not that blue, that's why. And so I cleaned up this white and blue one. I did properly dye stabilize to kind of give you guys a picture of that. And I'm using some Deft spray lacquer to spray these, and you can really tell how they're going to look. And here's a little close-up of them, and I think they turned out really, really cool. Definitely check out my Etsy if any of you guys are interested in these blocks. All these blocks are up on Etsy and available, and I keep on making all these types of blocks all the time. I'll show you guys a shot in a second of many different blocks that I have in stock to kind of give you guys some perspective of all the cool things you can make with this. And honestly, the possibilities are endless. There's some pine cones, there's some silver leaf with dye stabilized maple, there's translucent blue, translucent red and blue, silver leaf, gold, silver, and maple leaf, and then the blocks I showed you guys. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and take it easy everyone. Thanks for watching.